Oh, welcome to the show. It's a sad day in history. It's September 11th today. Uh 22 years after that event that changed history, probably changed all kinds of things. We won't get into any of that kind of stuff. Conspiracy theories, things of the sort. But yeah, welcome to the show. Got a few things to talk. Actually, hey, because it's September 11th, let's just get right into politics today. I'm going to talk about a few different sort of political things, if you will. We'll talk about it's a little bit. The story's a little old now. It's a few days old now, but the January 6th sentencing of the former Proud Boys leader of 22 years. We'll talk about that and the sort of the nonsense of the timeline of what that represents as far as other crimes. Also, going to talk about UFC 293. If you're a UFC fan, you probably know that Izzy Adesanya lost to Sean Strickland in a decision. We'll talk about that. Hey, Joe, what's up, buddy? Happy government cover up day. Could be. Conspiracy theories. Yeah, we'll talk about True Social. So, True Social is they've been kind of working on this merger for a little while, and it was coming due in the last few days. I think this September 5th. I'll read the article about it, but there's we got some stuff to talk about with that, whether Donald Trump wants to be part of that anymore or what the deal with that is. So, some things to talk about there. Also, China has been banning iPhone usage in their country by um, government officials and things like that. It's kind of like the first sort of strike in the maybe the Cold War. I guess we've been in a Cold War sort of with China, but this could be the first sort of strike against the economic, uh, um, whatever, on the economic side, essentially. So we'll talk about that as well. Also, the Obama love letters. If anybody knows about this, if you don't know about this, I will educate you on this. There were some letters that were written back when Obama was in college to a former girlfriend. He may or may not be. Mm, so we'll talk about that as well. And Isaac Butterfield, he's a comedian. He's kind of like he's become the newest. I wouldn't say the newest. I shouldn't say that. He's in a long list of political comedians now due to some of the things that have happened to him. I did say due there. Uh, Due to some of the things that have happened to him, and uh, we'll talk a little bit about that. He's a good comedian, and but should these comedians stay away from politics too much? I'm not sure, but we'll talk about that a little bit anyway. Before we get started, if you're watching and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, if you will. We're still growing at a steady clip, so that's nice. And if you haven't also, and you do like the podcast, hit the like, because the like helps the algorithm push the podcast out to people. So that also helps as well. And like anybody who does watch knows, every Monday at 7 o'clock, I do the podcast live. So jump in the conversation, get in the chat. I'll respond to your messages. Try and stay on top of the segments, because then if you mention something from a past segment and I'm in a new segment, well, I may not get to it. But and there is a little bit of a delay, so know that my segments go anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. So if you have something to say, get in there, and I'll comment on your comment, and we can go from there. And if you do miss the podcast or any part of the podcast and you don't watch the whole thing again, every weekday, actually from Tuesday to Sunday at 5 o'clock, I'll drop each segment of the topics that I cover, usually 6 every podcast. So we have a little bit of a system going on here. So yeah. So if you like those, again, likes, share, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. You know the jazz. But yeah, so let's get into this right away, because I like to kind of keep these the podcast on time. But it's hard to if I keep rambling on. So the this Proud Boys former leader, his name is Enrique Tarrio. He actually was. This was almost a week ago now. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison, which is the longest for any January 6th defendant. I'm going to read this article. This is by CNN Politics, so of course it's pretty much a dumpster fire. But I'll read it because I like, as you know, I like to get the perspective from the writers of the dumpster fire stuff, just to see what they like to say and how they like to spin it, and so you can actually see the narrative exposed. But here we go. So, former Proud Boys chairman, he wasn't even the leader, they say chairman here, Enrique Tarrio was sentenced Tuesday to 22 years in prison for seditious conspiracy and leading a failed plot to prevent the transfer of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Let's stop right there. I love that. To prevent the transfer. Who says they were trying to prevent the transfer? They were protesting. I thought protesting was allowed in this country. Or sorry, in the US. It's not this country. I thought it was allowed in this country too, but I don't think it is. So the sentence from District Judge Timothy Kelly is the longest given to anyone in relation to the January 6th U.S. Capitol attack. Tarrio, dressed in an orange jumpsuit and orange slip-on sneakers, leaned against the lectern at the front of the crowded courtroom and hung his head as the judge handed down his lengthy sentence. I love how they do this. It's like, oh, they're trying to make him sound pathetic here, right? 3 other members of Proud Boys leadership were also found guilty of seditious conspiracy and sentenced last week. And again, I'm going to stop there. I'm not a big fan of these guys. I know very little about Proud Boys. I know they're a group. All these little groups that come out. I'm not really a big fan of any of them, really. But they have a right to do this, to protest in this way. So I treat them all with sort of the same, the same disrespect, I guess, if you will. It is kind of hard to put into words how important the peaceful transfer of power is, Kelly said. Our country was founded as an experiment in self-government by the people, but it cannot long endure if the way we elect our leaders is threatened with force and violence. Mr. Tarrio was the ultimate leader, the ultimate person who organized, who was motivated by revolutionary zeal, Kelly said at the end of the 3-hour meeting, adding that he has shown no remorse. I love this. Like, it's the one side. It's the narrative that they act like this was the biggest attack on anything democracy related in U.S. history. This is so grand. They act like this is the biggest thing. That's how they can hand down a 22-year sentence, which is a joke. Now, if you compare this to, hey, what's up, Gizmo? Yeah, yeah, I agree. So, yeah, he's saying that Gavin really dodged the bullet. Ties to the Proud Boys there. Yeah, I agree. But check this out. I'm going to show you something here. This is all I could find, which is odd, because I did a pretty extensive search to see if I could find newer time served, but for some reason I couldn't seem to find it. Maybe I should have went to like DuckDuckGo or something like that. But here's this table. You're not going to be able to read it, I don't think. But if you can't, I'm just going to read it for you here. So this is time served in state prison before initial release by most serious offense. This is 2018. So we're back about 5 years here, but here's the median and the mean for time served in prison for violent offenses here. So for murder, so we've got 17.5 years median, 17.8 years mean. So the mean and the median are kind of skewed. You could probably just go on the median here because that takes all of the numbers into account. So non-negligent manslaughter, 7 years. We've got rape, 7.2 years. Rape somebody, 7 years for you. Seditious, whatever the hell they called it, 22 years for you. You go and apparently he wasn't even there. So he just planned or did some shit. Let's read on. Assault, 1.4 years. Robbery, 3.2 years. Other sexual assault, 3.6 years. I'm not sure what that is. Other sexual assault. And then it goes down. These are non-violent ones, like property damage or property related stuff, drug, public order, like so having weapons, things like that. But murder, that one's hilarious. 17.5 years average. This guy gets 22 years. There's something wrong with the system. The system's broken. Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Of course they would have thrown him in jail in Canada. We probably would have thrown him in jail longer. what they did to the truckers over here. But this is what do you even say to this kind of stuff? This is pathetic. The fact that they are going to continue to act like this was some kind of major attack on democracy, uh, but it's fine for other organizations, I won't name names, to burn police stations or courthouses or, all kinds of other shit. Uh, yeah, yeah, I agree. He would have gotten less time if he pushed Nancy Pelosi out of her office window. Probably, yeah, most likely would have. Um, I don't, yeah. The fact that there was no real heavy violence here, it was just mostly property damage, and they're dishing out sentences like this is really, really alarming, really sad. Obviously, they're trying to make a real, they're trying to make a real point of this. They're trying to say, hey, you know what, you fuck around and we're going to really throw the book at you here, which I wouldn't normally be against. But in this case, you know, it's not like this was done and this was the only thing done and they didn't, there was like precedent set with other groups that were rioting and such. This is just this is a narrative that they're pushing, and this is uh, a group that they don't like the position of, so they're just going to go ahead and throw the book at them. I really hope that the next president that gets in, hopefully it's someone with sense, uh, maybe pardon some of these guys and gals that they've got in these crazy long sentences. Sure, I agree. Maybe a couple of years for certain people, but this is nonsense. All right, let's. I get heated at stuff like that. I feel like I want to keep it light, but then I get into a little tangent. All right, let's go on to the next thing here. So get off of the this will get off of the political thing for a second here. So if you watch the UFC, I do, not all the time. I didn't actually catch these fights. I was busy, so I actually hurt myself this weekend. So I was kind of taking care of myself for a little, hurt my shoulder. But this apparently this fight was pretty good. The Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland fight. I'm going to read this article here. Um, this is who is this? Bleacher Report. So not bad. These guys are pretty good. They're pretty fair as far as their judgment here. So UFC's Dana White calls out Israel Adesanya being flat and slow in Strickland loss. MMA President Dana White thought Israel Adesanya was far from his best in his shocking loss to Sean Strickland in UFC 293 on Saturday. I don't know why they keep saying shocking loss, like as if there isn't a certain amount of parity in the UFC that the top guys can just beat each other. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Joe. I get heated. My heated in Canada is it's real heated. Sorry for the sidebar there, but that's a funny comment. So obviously, I expected a complete different main event. White told reporters after the show whether Izzy won or Strickland won. Nobody saw that coming. That Izzy would come in flat and slow, and whatever's going on with him, I don't think anybody expected to see that. First part, Adesanya kept his comments brief during the press conference. He said Strickland was the better man on the night, and that he just want to go be with people that care about him. So there's a little video here I'm going to play. It was pretty short. What Adesanya was saying about it. The funny thing about Strickland, he's a fantastic boxer. Like, so I think he's discounted for that. I think he matches up pretty well with Adesanya, to be honest. I don't know why it was such a shocking loss that Adesanya lost. I don't know why people thought that he was just going to come in there and dominate him. I think it's hard to dominate a guy like Strickland. He's just such a good boxer. He's got a bit of a weird style. I guess he does that Philadelphia style or whatever they call it, where he kind of holds his hands weird a little. Might open him up to some punches and such. But yeah, it's not like Strickland beat him up or anything. He won in a decision. What's the decision? It shows it here, I think. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it doesn't even show it here. It was something like 49-46 or something by all the judges' scoring cards. So it's kind of that's not like it's not an overwhelming. It's not like he beat him whatever, like 50-44 or something like that, where they've given him like 2 point rounds and such. It was a pretty close fight uh, from what I've read. Like, again, I didn't actually didn't get a chance to watch the fight, but I've also heard some murmurings. Now, again, these are just murmurs, some stuff I've read a little bit, uh, that potentially I don't know, like some people are thinking that it has the look of where it was sort of staged or it was fixed somehow. I don't know why people are saying this. I don't think the UFC does that. I don't see any evidence as to, any fights in the past where it looks like somebody took a fall. I've seen people quit. I've seen people quit strangely, but get into a fight and see what it's like, right? It's like when you're getting beat up and you just don't feel like you can win, you're probably going to want to quit, whether it's a professional fighter or just a regular person on the street fighting somebody. Uh, yeah. So Gizzo, I see you say, yeah, you watched the fight live. Yeah, Sean Strickland's fun to watch. Any boxer at his caliber is quite fun to watch. He can bang and he doesn't care. He'll just go out there and bang. He kind of reminds me of like a Donald Cerrone, where he just go out there and he's just going to bang with you. It's going to, he's got great skill. So he's going to be a bit elusive and hard to hit at times, but he's not afraid. He's not afraid to get hit. He's going to get in there and mix it up with you. So yeah, I don't think he's going to hold the belt long, but I don't know. Maybe that middleweight's pretty stacked. So these guys jumping around. You got Alex Pereira to just come in and smoke them too. So there's, it's kind of it's a juggling match at this point. I think it's so tight at this point. I think there's a lot of parity in that division that I don't see anybody really like running away with holding the belt. Like maybe GSP did back in the day, where he had like 10 title defenses or something. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, good on Strickland. Like I said, I like him as a fighter, so nice to see him win the belt for once. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's just keep rolling, man. This article here. Okay, so obviously everybody by now knows that Trump's on Truth Social. That's his little. That's his social media, whatever thing, I guess, at this point. So he won't really post anything else because of that. But they're kind of there's been some problems with it. They've been trying to strike a deal for the last little while, a couple of years or something like that. And it's something's going on. I don't know what exactly, but I'm going to read this article. This is CNN Business, so anything CNN before it's just CNN should. Excuse me. I don't know what a good acronym for that would be right now, but just garbage. So garbage business would be the rename for this. But let's read this. This talks about this acquisition and what's going on with Truth Social. So Digital World Acquisition Group, the blank check firm seeking to merge with former President Donald Trump's media company, will get another extension to complete its troubled deal. Shareholders voted to grant Digital World Acquisition Group another year to pull off its merger with Trump Media and Technology Group, which owns Truth Social, according to an SEC document posted Wednesday. The groups now have until September 8th of 2024 to combine, so they got about a year left now. The extension was approved by about 72% of stockholders, according to a regulatory filing Wednesday. Nearly 2 years ago, former President Donald Trump's media group agreed to combine with DWAC to bring the company public through what's known as a SPAC deal, or a Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation. The proposed merger has raised eyebrows from legal experts and drawn scrutiny from regulators and prosecutors. Okay. Everything draws scrutiny from regulators and prosecutors. What are you talking about? Get the hell out of here. Yeah, just because it's got Donald Trump's name on it. The extension was a major win for Trump's platform. Had shareholders voted against the extension, DWAC would have liquidated, and the social media platform would have to find another financial backer by September 8th of 2023. It also would have been required to return $300 million to shareholders. That could have been big right there, but I'll be honest with you, maybe this was part of the ploy the whole time. I don't think this is good for Trump to be tied to this thing. I think at first, maybe his hubris was like, hey, I'm going to build a social media platform that will be outside of, the censorship and all that. But now that you've got X, or formerly Twitter, being run by Elon Musk, I I think it would be advantageous for this deal to have kind of collapsed and Trump to get back onto to X, or again formerly Twitter. That might have helped him, helped him get his message out there to more eyes. Because I don't know what the numbers are as far as who's seeing his, whatever you want to call them. I think they're truths, they call them on Truth Social. I'm not on Truth Social, so I don't know exactly. I think it's truths, but same thing as tweets, right? I can imagine that it's quite a bit less. Quite a lot of a lot less people are on Truth Social that are on X or Twitter. And again, you're getting, like, with True Social, you're getting more people that are, you've got your echo chamber there. You're talking to people that are already part of your fan base and your group, and they're already Trumpers, or or sympathetic to Trump, or at the very least not part of the deranged syndrome of anti-Trumpers. So I think it would help him to be on a more neutral platform like X. So I don't know. Maybe this was kind of contrived, but it didn't seem to work because they've got the extension. So maybe the money was a big factor. So here, I'll continue reading this. This is not a bad article considering it's from Dumpster Business. It's the second time DWAC asked for an extension for closing the deal, the first being in September 2022. Seems like yearly they're asking for extensions. That doesn't mean the merger is bound to happen. In July, DWAC agreed to settle with the SEC. The agency said DWAC violated anti-fraud laws by failing to disclose to investors that it was actively pursuing a merger deal with TMTG before it went public. DWAC agreed to a cease and desist order and to pay an $18 million penalty if it closes a merger transaction. Okay, well, so it seems like there's a bit of, there might be a little bit of trouble with this whole merger. I don't know. But again, maybe that was the whole idea. Maybe it's, let's tank it and get out of this thing and get back on to a much more neutral Twitter, or sorry, X. All right, let's go to the next thing here. Just blasting through. Just blasting through here. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard about this, but China has now been banning iPhones. So by state employees. So I'm going to read this article. This is kind of new stuff, but not to say that we sort of didn't see it coming as far as the moving into the next phase of the Cold War type thing. But here we go. Why is China banning officials and state employees from using iPhones? Beijing is taking aim at Apple devices in the latest salvo in the US-China tech war. This is an article by Al Jazeera. If you're familiar with Al Jazeera, they're actually a pretty decent news organization. If you want to get the more of the Europe approach to a story, read it from these guys. They're not too bad. So it's funny when you read them in contrast to like CNN or MSNBC or something like that. But okay, China is reportedly barring government officials and employees at state-owned enterprises from using iPhones. The Wall Street Journal on Thursday reported that Beijing had issued a directive barring central government officials from using the Apple devices. On Friday, Bloomberg reported that the ban also covered government-backed agencies and state companies. It would be expanded to a wide range of government-controlled organizations. China's moves, which have now been announced on official channels, are the latest salvo in the ongoing trade and tech war between Washington and Beijing. Okay, so why ban the iPhone and why now? While bad news for Apple and a potential omen for Western tech companies generally, the bans have not come as a total surprise to China watchers. The United States and China have taken steps to reduce their economic reliance on each other as the two sides increasingly prioritize alleged national security concerns over investment and trade. I think part of this too would be that there could be a move sort of to India and things like this. And this, obviously, when you see the whole thing with Russia and China kind of becoming bum chums, that now it's, China's going to start to push away from American companies. Again, you could tie this to the whole microchip thing. there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and the reason why this might be happening now. Uh, oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, exactly. We ban Hawaii, and they ban Apple. A little tit for tat. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Joe. Um, yeah. So it's that's what you see with the Cold War, this kind of thing, right? You see these little moves. I mean, this is probably not great timing for China in general. They're in the midst of what looks like a 2008 housing bubble over there. So they start messing around with big companies like Apple that utilize them to make most of everything, most of all their products. Suddenly, if Apple pulls factories and starts putting them in India and things like that, it might not be very good for a struggling economy over in China, or a bloated bubble economy that they're going through right now. So okay, so Beijing has ramped up efforts to lessen its dependence on foreign technology and prop up domestic companies, including Shenzhen-based Huawei, whose new $1,200 Mate 60 Pro smartphone has been described by tech analysts as giving the iPhone a run for its money. Bank of America has noted the interesting timing of the iPhone ban given the recent launch of the Mate 60 Pro. Limiting personal use of iPhones, which could access local networks and collect environmental data, aligns with the government's commitment to bolster cybersecurity. Excuse me. Jim Lee, China analyst with the Economist Intelligence Unit, told Al Jazeera. China has been trying since at least 2016 to close cybersecurity loopholes with new laws and regulations, but technological limitations had hampered its efforts until recent. Okay, so this article goes on for a little while. Here we go. What does the iPhone ban mean for China? The ban will not prevent everyday Chinese citizens from buying the soon-to-be-released iPhone 15 and other Apple products, but it does emphasize the growing tension between Beijing's desire for control and China's economic future. Companies, including Apple, were already shifting production and investment away from China, but the ban may accelerate that trend. Exactly what I just said. So this might not be great for them. This might be kind of like a shoot yourself in the foot a little bit move here, but you know, the sinking ship's taking water on in all areas. So maybe this housing bubble that they're looking at, this or I should say just building bubble, because it's not just related to housing, it's also commercial properties and such, could spill over into some other economic problems with things like this, where you're you know you're banning iPhones and starting to now try to get your independence from the U.S., but you know that that just might be the thing that pushes them a little bit further over the edge. So yeah, we'll have to see, I guess. All right, here we go. This one's funny. I was waiting to get to this one. I should have started with this one. This is funny. Okay, so if you didn't know about this already, um, this was a few years back. They actually this came out, and then it kind of just went away really quickly, which is funny to me. Uh, and now they're resurfacing again. So it's good timing, I guess. So I'm going to read this article. Obama's love letters from 1982 resurface. I make love to men daily, but in the imagination. So this is his love letters to an ex-girlfriend. So here we go. Barack Obama once wrote that he made love to men every day in the imagination in a love letter to his ex-girlfriend that has surfaced more than 40 years later. Oh, by the way, this is from the Independent, UK. So this might be a little bit of a non-partisan type read here. Let's see what they have to say. The former U.S. president wrote in his androgynous mind in a letter to his then ex-girlfriend, Alex McNear, which has since resurfaced in the New York Post. In the correspondence, Obama wrote, "In regard to homosexuality, I must say that I believe this is an attempt to remove oneself from the present, a refusal perhaps to perpetuate the endless farce of earthly life. You see, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination. My mind is androgynous to a great extent, and I hope to make it more so until I can think in terms of people, not women as opposed to men," he added, "but in returning to the body, I see that I have been made a man, and physically in life, I choose to accept that contingency. What a weird thing to write. Um, but oh, okay, well, I mean, maybe he was the first gay president we didn't actually know about. Yeah, yeah. Joan Rivers did say this. You're right. Joan Rivers did mention this at one point, and well, she's no longer with us, but you can speculate. There's some theories as to why that happened that I've read. So, anyways, let's carry on with this. Uh, the letter was written in November 1982 when the 21-year-old Obama and McNear were students at Occidental College in Los Angeles. She later redacted excerpts in the letter, which is currently held by Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so in an interview with Tablet published on August 2nd, Garrow explained how he obtained letters from three of Obama's former girlfriends as he was writing about the politician's early career. The biographer suggested that McNear wanted to have her role known when she offered the 40-year-old letter to Garrow. When Alex showed me the letters from Barack, she redacted one paragraph in one of them and just said it's about homosexuality. Okay, so this is weird. I mean, the timing on all this is bizarre. I mean, what's also funny to me is why why would they care anyway? If Barack Obama was gay or is bisexual or whatever his sexuality is, why would anybody really care, especially on the left? You know, wouldn't they celebrate that when they say, "Oh, hey, you know, he was black and gay"? We struck you know, two of the columns on that. But it's almost as if this is like something that's you know that they're ashamed of. I mean, the whole idea that he may have been he may have been a drug addict at some point or did crack and had homosexual affairs and such. That's all very speculative, obviously, and I don't know what to think about that if it's true or not. I think a lot of people have things to gain by saying things like that, sensationalizing stories or whatever. I don't think the source of that was super credible necessarily, but you know, maybe not. I, but I don't think it matters much, to be honest. I don't think it's a thing. I don't think this is much of a thing. I think this could be there could be two ways that this is that's going on this. This could be a leak on the Republican side to try and tarnish the Obama name. Um, Maybe because there's this idea or a chance that Michelle Obama may run for the Democratic side. That could be something that's you know seems a bit far fetched, but that could be something like that. It could be that they're releasing it on their own to try and uh, garner maybe uh, some favor with the LGBTQ community. I don't know. This seems a little weird. The timing's a little suspect. That's coming out in another election cycle with a former president that doesn't seem to have any role in the current uh, presidential race, unless you unless you think what some people think, and he's running a shadow government. I don't know, but that's just speculation. That's not my opinion. That's just I've heard that somewhere, and that's just a conspiracy theory that's been put out there. So I don't know. This is it's all weird anyway. Again, I think the fact that this is a thing might be the weirdest of the whole. So what? If he was gay, is gay, uh, bisexual, whatever, what's it matter? It should None of that should matter. Just like race shouldn't matter. Just like all of that shouldn't matter. It should be just someone's judged on the content of their character. And if you're an Obama fan, then judge him on his character. Judge him on the 8 years that he was in that he was president. So it'll be interesting to see if this comes out or if he admits it. Yeah, yeah, Joe. That's my opinion. So, you got to be careful what you say on here, though. That's why I have to be careful what I say. What I have opinions on, what I have some evidence for, all those kinds of things. You got to be kind of careful what you say. I have some opinions. I try and keep some of my opinions that I haven't vetted the information on to myself before I sort of do a little vetting of the information. I try and stay in the middle of things. So it, but could be right. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. Next and last thing. We're at 35 minutes. So, okay. So if you've heard of this guy, he's pretty funny. He's, he's been a comedian for a while. Uh, but, I guess I should say his name, Isaac Butterfield. I get a lot of his stuff on Facebook videos. Just going through. So I've been catching this guy's stuff for probably about a year now, and he got in trouble. He got in a little bit of hot water about, I think we're about 6 months or so ago, where he made a couple offensive jokes. And he's an Australian comedian, right? So they you can't talk about the Aboriginal people over there without getting a bit of flack. Probably the same here in Canada, where if you were to talk about the native Aboriginals here, you got to be careful what you say. Jokes can't just be jokes anymore. Uh, jokes are supposed to be a little crude. But anyways, he made a couple offensive jokes that people lashed out at him, and then he had some backlash. I guess the government went after him a little bit, and so now he's become very political now. I think before he used to just make jokes about nonsense of things. Now it's kind of, he got attacked so much now that he feels like he's going to make it a little bit personal. So I'm going to read this article a little bit. It'll give you a little bit of context on what he was actually in trouble for. So it says comedian lashed out for intentionally offensive routine on Aboriginal people. So the Australian community was also called out in 2019 when he faced a severe backlash for joking about the victims of the Christchurch massacre. Okay. Well, anytime massacre is behind something, tread carefully. You got to be careful when you make jokes about stuff like that. I don't know what that joke was about, but here we go. So, a range of First Nations social media users have called out Australian comedian over jokes that they say are racist. Okay, so let me read what these jokes are. Oh, here we go. Now, these are someone else. This is Isaac Butterfield's jokes. Just reading them. This is not my joke. This is not what I believe. So don't shit on me for this. But here we go. So first was he said Aboriginal pornography was the National Geographic that no one would have seen a transgender Aboriginal because the ladies already look like blokes. Yeah, yeah. It's whatever. It's kind of yeah. It's not funny enough, I think, to like maybe if you got the crowd on a laugh roll, that might be funny enough to get a good laugh out of. But standalone, it's meh. Here's another one. It's so easy to write Aboriginal jokes. They write themselves. The most Aboriginal word in the world, corroboree, I should say, has the word robbery in it. He said. So, okay. Again, yeah, it's like lowbrow stuff, And here's the third one. Here, let's see what you think about this. White people in Australia never really culturally appropriated Aboriginal culture because there's nothing that we really wanted except for the kids. Yeah, I don't know. Not all that funny. He is funny. I'll give him that. Like he's funnier, I think, when he's making fun of stupid stuff. And when he keeps out of the politics and such. I do like his videos. He's kind of like he reminds me of who's that other guy I did a segment on the Joey Tunes or yeah whatever yeah Joe yeah something Tunes. Anyways, I did a segment on him a few weeks back. He kind of reminds me of him, where he's like that other guy that there's a few of them now. Anyways, he's like those guys that make fun of the politics stuff. They're the comedians that do that, and I mean it is funny. So, I would recommend that you catch this guy's stuff. Especially some of his older stuff was funnier. I find that some of his newer stuff now is a little bit too political preachy. But anyways, check him out. He's pretty funny. All right, that's it. That's all I got. That's all we're talking about today. I'm at 40 minutes, so we're in time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for jumping in the combo, Gizzo and Joe. It's nice to see you guys on a weekly basis. Bring your friends. Yeah, try and get Tyler back for a week, and you know, he misses you, Gizzo. He talks about you all the time. Yes. All right. Well, again, if you did make it all the way here, thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe and subscribe to the channel. If you didn't, if you were too timid to jump in the comments and you were watching, next time jump in there. You know, as you can see, I like to riff off the comments a little bit. So, and if you did miss any of the segments, like I said, you can just catch any of the segments Tuesday through Sunday, 5 o'clock, and obviously like and share and all that kind of stuff that you can there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Monday at 7 o'clock.